Welcome to Wingman Men's Moments. I'm Randy Ferreira, along with my best buddy here, Pastor Jay Dennis. We're co-founders of Wingman Nation and City Central Church here in Lakeland, Florida. Good morning, Pastor Jay.
Good morning. How are you doing, Papa Rock?
I'm really good, thank you. So
Great.
We are Christians, we're husbands, we're dads, we're grandpas, and we have a passion for God and the things of God. And we stand only on God's Word, the truth, and the Bible is our authority. So today we're looking at this subject that most guys struggle with.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Pastor Jay.
Yeah, well, we're calling this the Elijah episode because we wanted to take a very well-known character in the Bible who was a great prophet of God, but yet he struggled with the issue of depression. So we've entitled this the Elijah episode, What to Do When There's No Way Through. We find this in 1 Kings 19, 1 through 18. And I would encourage you to take your Bibles and open it up to that and read this passage. We'll not take the time to read all of these verses, but we'll be referring throughout this podcast to these verses. Let's start with a light note. Percy, an 82-year-old man, went to the doctor to get a physical, and a few days later the doctor saw Percy walking down the street with a gorgeous young lady under his arm. A couple of days later, the doctor spoke to Percy again and said, "You're really doing great, aren't you?" Percy replied, "Just doing what you said, to get a hot mama and be cheerful." And the doctor responded, "I didn't say that. I said, you've got a heart murmur. Be careful."
That's funny. So it's interesting. Before we talk a little bit more about this, is that we've talked before, Pastor Jay, about every single thing that we deal with in life can be found. There's an answer for it in the Bible.
There is,
and it may not be very specific to whatever you're going through, but in the Bible there's always an association to understand. Okay, I can understand how this would relate to the problem that I'm going through.
Right.
So I just want to say that because so many people would say, well, I'm going through this. Nothing doesn't say anything about that in the Bible.
Right.
Well, it does.
It
Conceptually,
does.
There's things in the Bible that will speak to whatever we're going through.
Right. There's always a principle found in God's Word. Even if it doesn't directly deal with the issue you're facing, there's a principle to deal with it.
Right.
No
Well
doubt.
said. So when it comes to this depression and the Elijah episode we're calling depression, there's characteristics to look for. Are you tired without a cause?
Yeah.
Are you sad without a reason? Are you hungry when you've just eaten? I'm like that all the time. Wait a minute.
I'm in trouble.
Wanting to sleep when you just got out of bed, wanting to run, hide, or withdraw from people. Do things always seem to look gloomy? Do you feel emotionally drained? Do you find you have a negative outlook rather than a positive spirit? If you answered yes, you're probably battling an Elijah episode, a.k.a. depression. So here's some facts. Depression is one of the greatest killers of our time. It affects 50 million Americans at some point in their lives and has increased 400% since 1987. Depression is associated with suicide, divorce, job failure, heart disease, obesity, and dementia. And depression doubles the risk of Alzheimer's disease in women and quadruples it in most men.
Wow.
Pretty staggering statistic. A larger statistic is 23% of women between the ages of 20 and 60 are taking antidepressant medications. And not that there's anything wrong with that.
No.
But it's just a number. The risk of depression also significantly increases after the age of 65.
I think I'm depressed.
No wonder I've been bummed out.
Oh, my goodness. Let's think about Elijah here. The great prophet had just utterly decimated the prophets of Baal. As a consequence, a wicked woman named Jezebel sought revenge. Jezebel was the wife of King Ahab and the queen of Israel. Elijah was now running and hiding. He knew she meant business and would attempt to kill him. So, the Elijah episode is that moment in the life of a Christian when he is physically and emotionally spent and sees life through a worst-case scenario, seeing no way through the circumstances he is in. Number one, we want to share with you the condition of an Elijah episode. An estimated 21 million adults in the United States, about 8.3% to 8.8% of the adult population, experienced at least one major depressive episode in 2021 and 2022. Some recent estimates suggest the number of adults with depression may be even higher, with up to 47.8 million reporting depression in 2025. Depression affects, listen to this, 15 to 19.5% of youth age 12 to 17. And I do believe that COVID really had a massive effect on the emotions of our young people. And we are still dealing with the after effects of that.
Yes, and the just to put it in perspective, 21 million adults, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
Right? And it's probably even higher now.
Yes.
Depression can affect anyone, and it doesn't respect any person's ages or positions, right?
Right.
C.H. Spurgeon, arguably one of the greatest preachers ever, said this: "If I find myself frequently depressed, perhaps more so than any other person, I am the subject of depression, so fearful that I hope none of you ever get to such extremes or wretchedness as I go to." The great Winston Churchill was debilitated by what he referred to as the black dog of depression.
Wow.
That sounds like him.
Great people.
Notice God's mighty giant, a mighty prophet in the depths of depression. Elijah had just won the showdown you talked about earlier with 450 false prophets. If you don't remember that part of the Bible, go back and read it. It's a great
story.
Exciting. God had just used him, and God prevailed. But Elijah was at his lowest point, even to the point of wanting to commit suicide.
That's right.
Think about it. God just performed a miracle through him. You should be jumping up and down going, whoa, exactly. God's using me. Well, let's discover from his experience the condition of depression. And Jay's going to talk about this in a second, but the causes of depression and how you can deal with this depression.
Exactly. So make no mistake about it. God's man Elijah, the spiritual giant, he was depressed. Yes, he loved the Lord. Yes, he had been in God's will. Yes, he was committed. And yes, he was depressed. He had just experienced a great spiritual victory, as you said. Some seem to have the idea that if you're a Christian, you don't ever get depressed, or you're not supposed to. Elijah, along with countless other men and women of God, say they do get depressed. Christians, we are not immune. My preaching professor, Dr. Joel Gregory, made this statement: when you look through the Bible, you seem to have the miserable majority. Now, the word depression, an interesting word, comes from a Greek word that means to find no way through, to be wholly at a loss. So you're in a situation and everything looks hopeless and helpless, and you don't see a way through it. That's a good definition of depression.
It is, and unfortunately, for most people who get it, let's hope you never know the definition.
That's exactly right.
There's no way through it. Wow, that would be even more depressing.
It would be.
So there's two types, the two most prominent types of depression: the endogenous and the reactive. The endogenous is biological, such as a chemical imbalance in your body, and lots of people have that.
Right.
And it's good to identify that.
It
right?
is.
The other is reactive. And the reason why I say it's good to identify that is because if you're feeling like you have any type of depression, we want to highly encourage you to go and get a blood test, go to a doctor, get checked out. So it could be just something as simple as rebalancing the chemicals in your body.
Right, exactly.
And then the other is reactive. This is a reaction to circumstances, such as somebody who died, a death of a loved one, a divorce, a financial collapse, loss of job. A reaction to some loss in your life can also set you off. It's things that would just set you in a direction that's not good.
Yeah, exactly.
Typically. So notice the symptoms Elijah faced as a result of his depression. So he withdrew. That was the first thing he did.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be around anyone, not even his servant, who obviously was a close friend to him. He felt all alone, which is amazing because he just had a God experience, right?
Yes, it is.
And that he was the target of life's blows. He ran from his problems. He didn't want to face them. He felt sorry for himself. This is a giant in God's God's kingdom. He felt defeated and like he was a failure.
Wow.
And he feared the future. I mean, think about that for a moment.
That is
God just used him.
Absolutely.
And he's feeling like this. So,
and you know, one of the things that I think happens is that, and we'll probably share a little bit more about it in this podcast, is that after you have had a great victory in your life, there are two times I think that we are most apt to depression and temptation: after a failure and after a victory. And this was a post-victory, and he had this feeling of being let down.
Yeah. That's a good point. And you wouldn't think so after a victory. You'd think, But depression can be debilitating. It can even paralyze you, as it's done here for Elijah that we see, right? It puts you on the shelf spiritually, emotionally, and physically.
It really does. Well, let's look at the causes of an Elijah episode. Why was God's servant depressed? What causes its condition? What factors contribute to it? There are many reasons why people get depressed, but as we view Elijah's life, we can pinpoint 6 of these causes. Number 1 is fear. 1 Kings 19:3, and he was afraid and arose and ran for his life and came to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and left his servant there. So Elijah was filled with fear and dread. Elijah was filled with fear and dread. It stemmed from a wicked woman named Jezebel. 1 Kings 19:2. She sent this message to Elijah: "You kill my prophets, and now I swear by the gods that I'm going to kill you by this time tomorrow night." Fear has been identified as false evidence that appears real. It's thinking or imagining the worst is going to happen. Fear is the dark room where negatives are developed, especially in our emotions. Your fear can trigger depression. Fearing a loss leads to depression. Fear of losing your health, losing your marriage or family, fear of losing your job or your finances, or the loss of a friendship or a relationship. Your depression can be triggered by the fear of someone or something. So fear is a big factor in a trigger and a cause for depression.
Jezebel must have been a very wicked woman.
She was a wicked woman.
No, you notice that no one, I can't even remember anybody naming their daughter Jezebel.
Well, it would be a curse. Come
right?
to think of it, neither have I.
I mean, even people that aren't Christians, you never hear that name.
Yeah.
I guess that's God's way of saying, don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The second thing is frustration. Elijah was frustrated even with God's plan for his life.
He was.
In 1 Kings 19:4, it says, "But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a juniper tree. And he requested for himself that he might die, and said, 'It is enough. Now, O Lord, take my life, for I am not better than my fathers.'" So the Living Bible says, "I have had enough," means take my life, right? I've got to die sometime, and it might as well be now.
Wow. I mean, he's in the depths of depression here.
Yeah, these are the words of someone ready to call it quits, right? I mean, he's, God, I've done your will now. Look what it's got me into.
Yeah.
And that happens sometimes when we follow God's will.
It does.
There's there's consequences that may not be real consequences, but we see them as, we could get called out by people who are liberals because we're standing up for what is right.
Exactly. It's just not always safe to be in God's will. It's the right thing to do, but it's not always safe.
That's right. And when you reach the point of, Lord, I've had it, usually depression follows. Mm-hmm. And it's that feeling of disappointment. And I get it. You got to understand where he was coming from. He just did all these great things for God. He went on out a limb, and now he's got this crazy woman trying to kill him.
Exactly.
It's that feeling of disappointment. It's when your dreams and your plans are shattered suddenly, and you take 3 steps forward and 1 step back, so to speak. And so it's the dead ends and the detours of the lies that bring us to the point of throwing up our hands and just going, I've had enough.
Absolutely. And honestly, I think we've all been to that place. Yeah. Number 3 is fatigue. Physical fatigue and emotional fatigue can trigger depression. Elijah was physically and emotionally exhausted. 1 Kings 19:4. He had spent himself. His victorious battle with the false prophets had left him empty. If you're depressed, it may be your body's radar saying something's wrong. see a physician, get a checkup. There could be a chemical imbalance, as you spoke about a moment ago. It may be you're pushing your body too hard, not enough sleep, or a wrong diet. Emotional fatigue can be the trigger even more than physical fatigue. After you've experienced a lot of energy on something, the result can be depression. When you use a lot of adrenaline to accomplish something, when you're finished, you feel kind of a letdown, and it's a bit of a gloomy feeling. If you have looked forward to something and you've planned for something and you've looked forward to it, and then it comes and then it's over, there's this letdown feeling that Satan can use to lead us into a depression. So we have to guard against that.
That's right. It's like, okay, now what?
Yeah,
Just did
right.
This great thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of comedians and actors, you hear that they're on these highs when they do something great, and then they're not seen for a while, and then they get depressed.
Right. Exactly. I think about Robin Williams.
Yes.
Good example of that.
So funny.
Thank you for listening to our podcast today. There are many ways that you can listen to this. Tell us, my friend, how can we listen to these podcasts?
We're on social media. You can watch us on YouTube. So any social media site, just search the Wingman Men's Moments.
Yep.
And until next time, Wingman Men's Moments, we're out.